Welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk at Black Hat USA 2025. I'm Terry Sweeney, contributing editor to Dark Reading, and joining us now on the stage is Sumedh Thakar, President and CEO of Qualys. Sumedh, welcome back to the Dark Reading News Desk.
Terry, thank you very much. I love doing this every year with you.
Nice to see you again. Start us off with some discussion about what is the Risk Operations Center, or ROC approach to cyber risk management. What's up there?
Yeah, if you look at cybersecurity is about risk management. We all love our tools and technology and acronym, but at the end of the day, the role of cybersecurity is to manage risk. And what happens a lot of times is when people look at posture management, they have multiple dashboards from multiple providers. For code scanning is different, cloud is different, container is different, but you cannot really tell what is your overall risk to losing $10 million on your client banking application. And so the Risk Operations Center is really kind of mirroring what we have done in the SOC in the past, which is Security Operations Center, but focused on threat detection after the fact, taking some of the ideas from there to really establish a formalized risk management process where we're bringing all assets risk factors together. So normalize them and give a holistic view of risk by tying it to business outcomes, being able to say, how many dollars would I lose if I have this risk? So the Risk Operations Center really is a new concept that a lot of CISOs are looking at to be able to present to their board as their next strategy.
Well, I was just going to say, the focus on risk suggests that this is designed with board concerns in mind, who increasingly are taking much more of an active interest in where cybersecurity lands on the meter there with regard to risk. In that vein, Agentic AI is a recent addition to your new ROC platform. Help us understand how Agentic AI can be leveraged in these applications, as well as some of the customer benefits.
Yeah, look, I think you mentioned something that was very important, right? Which is board involvement in risk. And the reason why there's always been this gap between CISOs and the board is the CISOs are speaking a language about vulnerabilities and counts.
Talking past each other.
The board doesn't understand, because the board just wants to know, I have a business of $500 million. If there is a ransomware attack, we would lose 10 million a day. What is the probability of that happening, right? And so the language of risk that you speak to the board is about money. And so what the Risk Operations Center is really doing is aligning your IT team, your CISOs, your security team, your CFO together to speak the same language. So whatever tasks you're executing for remediation are tied to reducing risk. Instead of just saying, let's go fix 10,000 CVEs, and by the way, after fixing 10,000 CVEs, you may not get any outcome. And so there are multiple different small processes that are involved in the Risk Operations Center to make it successful. And Agentic AI has a great opportunity there to be able to automate a bunch of these processes. And what we have done with the Risk Operations Center is we've created this idea of a cyber risk agent marketplace where you have specialized agents, like Agent Sarah is a Patch Tuesday specialist, Agent Nova is a ransomware specialist. And what you could do is you can essentially hire a digital employee through that marketplace to augment your team to achieve a specific task. And so Agentic AI has enabled us to add the cyber risk agent concept, where we provide out-of-the-box agents that have specialties. Customer can create their own specialized agent, and in the future, our partners can bring agents as part of that so that we can achieve outcomes in other tools. So the ROC is not about just Qualys, it is about being able to take data from multiple security tools.
Customers must love that modularity and adaptability.
It does, because the conversation is not like, hey, by the way, if you replace all your tools with my platform, your life is going to be beautiful, right? The reality is that with the Risk Operations Center, we can go to the customers and they can say, I can keep the tools that I like because they do the specific task well, but then I can take the data, normalize it in a risk language that's common, and present it to the board. And I always give this example of, you have a CV that's very exploitable. That same CV discovered in a code scan is not the same risk as that same CV discovered in a running container in production. And so how do you normalize the language so that we can say, hey, this is high risk versus low risk? So the Risk Operations Center does that, and the Agentic AI is something that really helps with that.
All right. What are you hearing from customers around their top pain points today, and how is ROC addressing that?
A lot of the pain point that customers are feeling is like, security budgets are tight, and they are being asked more and more by the board to say, hey, what is the outcome of the investment that we're making? And they want to really, they don't want to hear as much about the new acronym and, MFA and ZTNA, because, they can go and say, hey, we implemented MFA. the board is asking, well, how much risk did we reduce by doing that? And you cannot explain that, right? And so today what we're hearing from customers and why we are seeing a lot of engagement at the CISO level is because the board doesn't want to hear, vulnerabilities and misconfigurations and all of that. What they want to hear is, can you speak that particular language? And so they are coming and saying, can you help me make sense out of all of this telemetry into something that is business context? Because look, I think if you in security ask your IT team to fix 10,000 things that don't actually matter to the business, you've just wasted their time in doing and taking their time that they could have used to come up with a new capability that would help you compete in the market.
Right.
So it is an onus on the security teams, and that's what we hear from the CISOs, is they really want to make this IT teams do the minimum required to be really safe and be under a risk appetite, right? And there is nothing like zero risk. So establishing a risk appetite, they want help with that based on their industry, and they want to always be under their risk appetite.
Again, I'm struck by the transparency and the visibility that gets shared commonly, that
Right.
Whether it's the IT team, the security, the board,
Right.
customers, what have you, they're working from the same interface, the same metrics.
Right.
They can have conversations around that as opposed to trying to put a square peg in a round
That
hole.
aligns everybody to the same thing, right? So one of the things that the Risk Operation Center we talk about is the Risk Operation Center achieves three things: measure risk, communicate risk. We specifically put communicate as part of that because it is so important to be able to communicate the right message to the right people. Board wants a certain communication, the CFO wants a certain communication. The IT team, you don't want to give them 10,000 things to fix. They don't like it. They do it, you reward them with, hey, here's 10,000 more things, right? Versus a conversation that says, by the way, if you fix 5 things, you will be the hero that brought down the risk by 50. That is a great conversation to have, right? So you have to have communication, and that's what the Risk Operations Center aligns everybody to that communication. And then the last part is remediation. Without remediation, you can do all kinds of communication, but your risk is still there. And so measure, communicate, and remediate risk are the key elements of a Risk Operations Center.
Right. Sumedh, take us out with some thoughts around the kinds of questions that customers should be asking themselves as they consider whether using a ROC platform is right for them.
I mean, I will say that if they are trying to reduce risk, which is everybody, they should use a Risk Operations Center, right? And I want to make it clear that the Risk Operations Center is not a Qualys product. It is really a concept, like a SOC is not somebody's product. And every CISO in my mind really should be thinking their job is to align their efforts in risk management to the business, and how can they bridge that gap and operationalize the risk management. Otherwise, we end up playing what I call as the risk whack-a-mole. Oh, new CV came out. Now everybody's running after exchange. We did this with Log4j, was a complete waste of resources because we're just trying to fix anything and everything. So the Risk Operations Center is really a strategic initiative that CISO should be looking at, communicating to their board to say, we have too many tools, too many findings. We want to be able to bring everything together in one place and to operationalize our risk management exercise. This is the approach we're going to take. And by the way, the outcome of that is reducing the things that IT team is spending on fixing that does not matter to the risk. And so we're hearing very positive feedback from CISOs because it's more of a strategic conversation than telling them, there is some magic bullet that if you implement this, your life's going to be beautiful. And we all know that doesn't exist, right? So that's where the Risk Operations Center is something that we look at customers to look at it as a strategic initiative and it's not a one-day thing. You really need to align people, tool and process, and invest in the next couple of years to build out a Risk Operations Center. Right.
Well, Sumedh, a great deep dive on risk and ensuring that all the stakeholders are on the same page. Thanks so much for joining us on the Dark Reading News Desk.
Of course. Thank you very much, Shay. Always a pleasure.
We've been talking with Sumedh Thakar, President and CEO of Qualys. This has been Terry Sweeney for the Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you next time.